Hey YouTube, Jake Kilroy back in the shop for a little shop ADHD 23. I would like to apologize by way of explanation as to why my videos have been so sparse. I haven't been getting updates out like I normally do. I do apologize. The reason is, as many of you know, past few weeks I've been in my parents' home with my mother in hospice, and she passed the morning of the 16th at approximately 3 p.m. after a long struggle with Parkinson's disease. What is there to say? Miss you, Mom. She was a lovely, lovely lady, a true steel magnolia in the southern sense. Great cook, loving mother, everything you could ask for. I truly was blessed to have her as my mom. It was a learning experience for me. Parkinson's is a brutal disease. It's a brutal, brutal disease. And she suffered with it for a long time. She never complained once. It's proof that women are tougher than men. If I had Parkinson's, I'd be bitching and whining all the time, because let me tell you, it's just not fun. So anyway, her rapid decline at the end here was brought on by a fall and hip fracture, other things that are common with elderly folks. You know, Mom wasn't all that old. She was 74 years old. Born February 20th, 1941. Died September 16th, 2015. But like I said, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about other people. Living wills. Do you have one? Do your loved ones know what to do when they are faced with this situation? I can tell you right now, living wills sounds like a great thing. Everybody says they want one. I've never heard anybody say they didn't want a living will that prevented. They don't want the life-saving measures. They don't want to be vegetables on respirators or whatever. You hear it all. All that's great. It's great to have one. You should have one. But I can tell you right now, when you have to watch the results of it, it's tough. Toughest 2 weeks of my life by a long shot. I think I quadrupled the number of gray hairs in my head, and I'm not kidding. Got to spend a lot of time with my brother, my sister, my father. It's all great, and saw all sorts of family members, but under what would be a terrible situation. So anyway, enough about that. Life goes on. Life is for the living. She's in a much better place. Oh, hold on. All right, now that that's out of the way, we've got some tooling purchases. We've got some viewer appreciation gifts. We're going to start with right here. I've got some single angle horizontal milling cutters. There you go. Small size. These are 2 3/4 diameter. Excuse me, 3 inch diameter, 1/2 inch thick, 45 degree with a 1 1/4 inch shank. And I've got 2 matched sets of those right here. eBay purchases, and from the same seller, a moon cutter, brand new, 4 by 1/4 with a 1-inch shank. May have to get a 1 inch. I don't know that I have a 1-inch arbor. We got a few more items, which I'm gonna have brought over by my assistant. First item, please. Thank you, Tom. Wait. Never before been on one of my videos. This is my son. Stand up straight, son. James Thomas Philly III. You see the resemblance? Actually, I don't look as good as he does. All right, son. Thank you. So we got this little viewer mail here from Dale. Dale was at the RZ Bash. Dale writes, it's even better watching your videos now that we've met. Hope I can make it to the bash next year. Anyway, he's sent me, I mentioned in a video that I didn't have a 3/4 inch taper shank drill, and I couldn't believe it. So he sent me a selection of drill bits that we're going to go through here. Morse taper number 3, this one is here. Cleveland Forge, 29/32. Very nice. See, Dale is a fan of pillaging the free packing and shipping supplies from U.S. Postal Service. Here's a Morse taper 2 1/2. Might as well use the tubes if I got them. Let's see what else. Morse taper 2 3/4. There you go. Problem solved. Thank you very much, Dale. Dale's a generous guy. Very nice fellow. We talk via email and chat pretty regularly. Here's another 3/4, flat bottom. I haven't ground a flat bottom drill in a long time. Oh, this one's a little bigger. Morse taper 3 1 1/32. Nice size too. Morse taper 3 27/32. That's tap drill size. Something. Morse taper 3 1 inch straight up. Very nice. And that's it. Nope. Excuse me, one more. Very nice. Morse taper 2 47/64. It's kind of an unusual size, but still useful, certainly. Dale, thank you very much. Very nice of you. I enjoyed as well meeting you at the RZ Bash, and look forward to the next one as well. So, next item, please. Her first time on video. This is my oldest, Lauren Grace. She's 9 years old. Where do you go to school, Lauren? Beaumar Elementary in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Yeah. She is my angel. Thank you very much. Read the rest, please. Okay. This is a tooling purchase. As you can probably tell, they are horizontal milling cutters. They're still taped in the boxes. I mean, that one's still new. Still taped in the box. Still taped in the box. Oh. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Lauren. Still taped in the box. Oh, this one's open. All right. I don't know actually that I can use this size, but what the hey, you know, when they're practically free, they're practically free. Thank you, son. These are brand new Niagara double angle. That's a 60-degree double angle. The reason I say I don't know that I can use this size, you know, real well is that it's a 2 3/4 inch diameter. But anyway, got let's see, 45-degree, 2 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are all 2 3/4 by 1 inch shank, 1/2 inch thick. What else we got here? Again, also Niagara cutter. This was purchased off of eBay. These are new old stock, obviously. It's a 3 by 1/2 by 1 inch shank, straight tooth milling cutter, not a staggered tooth. You notice that each tooth is of equal width. That's a straight tooth cutter. Staggered tooth cutter is when each tooth is off to one side. If we're doing key slots, straight tooth cutters are the bomb. You're going to get a smoother finish and a better slot using a straight tooth cutter. And I got quite a few of these too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's a 3/8 in there. Excuse me. 5 1/2 inchers, 6 1/2 inch, and 2 3/8. If you're wanting to deal on some of this, obviously I can't use 6 of these. Really, this is more than a lifetime supply for me. If you're wanting to deal on some of this, trade. I really like to trade. Trading is nice. I like trading more than I like buying. But if you can utilize this size cutter and you would like to trade for some brand new old stock Niagara cutters, bring me off. Again, these are 3 inch, 3/8 inch wide, 1 inch shank. And then let's see. Oh yeah, these were interesting. eBay was very good to me this week. So this is a double angle, 1 1/4 inch shank, 60-degree, 4 inch diameter, 1/2 inch thick. Pretty late cutter, obviously, as you can expect, because it's tin coated. And I got one of those. And then these two here are for a job we're going to do on an upcoming video. I actually had to pay retail money for these. This is a 4 by 1/2 by 45-degree, 1 1/4 inch shank, matched pair left and right single angle cutters. We'll be using these on an upcoming job, and you'll see why I needed a matched pair, and also some of the benefits of being able to use shank tooling and why you may want to consider having shank tooling in your shop. All right, well, we have a whole ton of horizontal milling tooling there, and you can use, like I said, you can use this stuff in more circumstances than just a horizontal mill, and we're going to see some of that in the job we're going to be doing here real soon. We have one last item. It's a very special item that I want to go over, and I'm going to have my assistants bring the items to me. Thank you. Thank you. My assistant group here, Lauren and Thomas. Thank you very much. Don't go, come on. So when I was out in California at the Barzy Bash, met face to face Chuck Bomarito. Great guy, a lot of fun. No doubt, if you're out on the West Coast and you want to hang out with somebody, Chuck is going to be your go-to guy. Just looks like a fun guy. Really, really a lot of fun. Everybody has seen Chuck's screwy balls. You've seen several people use them in videos. Adam Booth most recently used the large size 1.5 inch screw ball in his video about the What's in Your Toolbox giveaway project, where he's working on participating in the construction of a milling vise. I'll put a link to the video right down here. And these are beautiful. I'm also going to put a link to Chuck's eBay ad for these babies. 70 something bucks a set in the box. Well worth it. Superior in many ways to using the old trick of using a dowel to hold irregular stock while you squared stock using a piece of like bar stock, because the screw ball adjusts for multi-axis irregularity and gives you there's less influence on the position of the part in the vise than with a piece of tool steel or a drill blade. But while I was out there, I gave Chuck a donation to the cause, and the donation was a box of 2-inch ball bearings that I had bouncing around the shop here for ages. And Chuck sent me back the first, possibly the only, 2-inch screw ball. I asked him specifically for this size because I've got an 8-inch Kurt vise that I use all the time. The jaws are taller than a 6-inch Kurt vise, about 2 1/4 inches. If you set this down on the bed of the vise, it will position itself just about perfectly. The point will be positioned just about perfectly in the middle of the vise jaw. So this is a great size for someone that uses an 8-inch Kurt, like Adam Booth maybe, or myself, or anybody else that has one. This is a very handy item. And Chuck did a masterful job of packing it. He actually had it wrapped in plastic inside this tennis ball that was wrapped in plastic, that was packed in foam in this container, which was then all wrapped in plastic. I think it's a record in terms of how many layers the thing was packed in. Thank you very much, Chuck. I had a great time. I look forward to getting good use out of the all of these different sizes of the screw balls. So now what we're gonna move on to, if you remember a while ago, in a shop ADHD, I had a section on traveling, doing a little road traveling, and buying a drill press, a AB4 model Alzmetall drill press. If I can find a link to the video, I will put it down below. I've got the drill press sitting over here. I really haven't put it to use, got some issues with it, And I'm just going to kind of go over with you what the problems are with the drill press and what needs to be fixed. So let's reposition the camera and go look at that. Alrighty. I'm over with the drill press, and as you can see I have the electrical box open for a reason, because this contactor is buzzing like a bee. The contact centers are so worn out that no amount of force here, yeah, it never stopped buzzing. The reverse contactor is fine. You know, no buzz at all. It's a matched pair setup and reversing setup, because this drill press has a tapping cycle. And anyway, this thing's shot. So I'm looking for some help. If anybody knows where to source old Siemens contactors, there isn't any visible part number on it. This is probably a 60s vintage machine. This is a 3 kilowatt motor, 3,000 watt motor. So 4 horsepower basically. I need to replace this contactor with one that works. I've taken the cover off here. I've cleaned the contacts. They're just so worn away from so much use that there's just nothing left. So I'm afraid it's been replaced. But I'm having a heck of a time trying to find replacement parts for these contactors. If I can't, I'll either have to replace both. I'll have to replace this contactor or both these contactors with a more modern variant, or I could just scrap the whole thing and replace the whole setup with a VFD, and then run all the factory controls into the VFD. So that's where I am with the drill press. The good news is the motor seems to work fine. So there you go, in reverse. So somebody suggested that I just swap this contactor for this contactor, but then I still don't have my reverse tapping cycle. So I'm certainly interested in making that work. So I'm sure a lot of you, or all of you, are following Tom Lipton, Oxtoolco's series on building the reproduction baby bullet vise, Walton baby bullet. On his blog spot, you've got, he's posted all the drawings that he's using. This will probably look familiar. That is the base of his baby bullet drawing, combined with the tabs to make one piece. And this may look familiar. This is the main tube. So you say, Kilroy, what are you going to do? Make a plastic vise? Well, actually, it's not far off. What I'm working on is a set of plastic parts to allow me to basically do like a lost wax or lost plastic casting of the two major components of the baby bullet vise. The base, the tube, and the fixed jaw would be one part, and then the moving jaw would be another part. It would be those would be the two main cast pieces that would make up the baby bullet vise. So anyway, this is going to be a long-term project because I've got to play with a couple things. Modifying the CAD, putting the CAD together to make single components out of it, printable components. Obviously I can't 3D print this, you know, this way or this way or this way. I might be able to actually print it like that. I don't know. It'd be tough. Separating the parts up into printable pieces, and then also modifying the parts so that they index together to make assembly. You basically just glue these together to make a single piece, and then do whatever you're going to do to smooth them or make the finish better. Try to do some of that in the CAD and in the print process to make the hand finishing less. And then so I've got to go through that process, and then I also have to go through the process of either finding somebody, you know, making the plaster patterns, burning out the plastic, and then finding somebody. I'm not set up with a method to melt metal here in concrete land. I don't really have a safe place to do it, and so that's what we're working on there. That's another little ongoing project. So thank you, Tom, for publishing your drawings, which really make this possible. And I will keep you updated on that process as I move along. So yes, at some point in time we will have a plastic vise, and then probably do a couple of aluminum versions up front, just to test the process, to make sure the patterns work right, to make sure that, you know, the parts that result from the cast are functional, and then move on from there to cast iron. So looks like this could be a lot of fun. So okay, Todd, I told you earlier that I had bought a couple of cutters for a specific job, and I was giving an example of how shank mounted tooling can be useful even when you're not using it in a horizontal application. So as you can probably hear, the big mill is running over here warming up, and I've got my job set up, and I'm gonna move the camera over, and we're going to take a look. All right, so we're set up here on the mill. This piece of stock here is a 8-inch piece UHMW. It's cut slightly over 1 inch wide, and it is a pulley sheave for a product that I make. And you see I have it bolted here to the table. There's a center hole here, and then I have it bolted to the table with these 3 studs. And then what I have here next to it is I have a stack of cutters. I have a single angle cutter up top. I have a 3/8 radius, and this is a 4-inch cutter. I have a 3/8 radius cutter here that's a 5-inch cutter. And then I have another single angle cutter down below. Let me see if I can adjust the camera to give you a better view of that. That ought to give you a good view here. You can see the cutter all around. I'll just leave it right here. And then what I cut with this is I cut a 3/8 inch groove with a radius bottom with 2 45-degree flanks that help guide the cable. It's an instrumentation cable down into this slot. And so we're all set up here, and what we're going to do is I get the mill running like so, running about 200 RPM. I feed it in, and then I just hand crank it all the way around, and that gives me my cut. Alrighty, I had to add another spacer on up here. I have to space this up so that the bottom cutter doesn't hit the table, and I didn't have enough spacers on this, so I got it mounted, got it tightened down. I'll go ahead and lock my table so it won't turn. And I'm going to fire it up. Again, this is about 200 RPM. I'm going to slow my feed way down so I don't cut too much. Now I'm just going to take a little cut and make sure, just go ahead and check my center. And that's pretty darn good. My work shifted there a little bit. I need to tighten that up a little bit more. Oh, that might have just been a slack coming out of the table. That's just the slack coming out of the table. So I'm going to feed it on around just basically as fast as I can crank it. Coming back to me here. If I was doing a bunch of these, I'd definitely motorize this table. So you can definitely see how this full profile setup, this shank tooling here, can be really useful in some jobs. Let's unmount this and get back over to the bench. Alrighty, so there you go. I'll give you a close-up of the finish here. Really does a great job on this part. It's a pretty quick process. It naturally works out, right? So that all of my angles and radius are correct. You know, a lot of people will say, well, why don't you do that on a lathe? Well, one, look at that little gap right there. You know, do you think you can hold that on a lathe with that? I mean, sure, you could build some kind of jig to hold this with a bolt through the center that you could put in a vise. I mean, you could put in a chuck and you could turn it on a lathe, or you could cut it long, right? And you could have something to grab. But it's really slippery material. It's hard to hold in a chuck. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, 8-inch, or this is like actually 9-inch when it starts. 9-inch polyethylene is not cheap, right? I think I pay right at about $40 an inch for this material, so you don't want to be wasting any. So this is a great process right here. It works great. I don't have to waste any material, and I get really good results. So this is one way that shank mounted tooling can be used. Another good way that people see a lot of is gear cutters. So this is a piece of shank mounted tooling that people are really used to. But don't overlook shank mounted tooling when it comes to your other work. Even if you don't have a horizontal mill. You saw the way I had it mounted. That's actually a 1 1/4 inch arbor. Most of my tooling is 1 1/4. If you were using some in a Bridgeport, I think you can get a 7/8 and a 1 inch, you know, stub arbor they call them, for use in a Bridgeport, and can be really useful. Those radius cutters, both concave and convex radius cutters, can be real time savers if you have a need for that type of cut. Single angle cutters and double angle cutters, again, can be real time savers if you have a need for that kind of cut. I've always wondered, let me grab something. I've always wondered why Aloris decided to do their tool holders with the female dovetail on the block. Because cutting this interior dovetail is much more difficult than if you were cutting an exterior dovetail. If you were cutting an exterior dovetail, you could use a big single angle cutter. It's much more durable than a little dovetail cutter that'll go in here, right? So I've always wondered why they did that way. I mean, they work fine, but it would be tooling costs would be a lot better if you were doing an exterior. So anyway, there you go. We'll be working on the drill press here, trying to figure out what to do with that contactor. It's nasty. I'm continuing to print parts on the plastic baby bullet as I follow along with Tom Lipton's excellent series on building baby bullet. I'm continuing to do some work on several other projects that I'll be bringing in here soon. Like I said, I've been kind of, you know, as you might understand, knocked out of sorts recently with all of the family matters going on. So anyway, have a good weekend, and I'll be back with you soon. Be safe in the shop.